Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. So, in this video we're going to be talking about the turtles, kind of where I think you probably should stop summoning if you are someone who is a little bit light on currency, and also kind of the rotations that I think are most viable for these guys if you are someone who is lucky enough to have them. Obviously we're not yet finished on the banner, so you've got ample time left. Got a weird kink in this cap. You've got ample time left to get a copy or more copies of Raphael and Donatello. With regards to Leonardo and Michelangelo, it's not known yet if you're going to get another chance to get them. I would say that I would go with the assumption that no, you're not, but there is a chance that they'll do a last chance banner, okay? It's not unheard of for games who have a lot of units to do something like that, and if they do that, I would expect them to put all 4 units on the same banner, so it's pure pot luck who you get. But if they do that with mileage pity, I would expect the box to have a choice of any of the 4. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that, all I'm saying is they might do that. Some games do this, and I think we would probably find that out in the last couple of days if that was going to happen or not. So let's just run on the assumption that you have got these guys and you've started to summon for them. You've done quite well part 1. Where should you go in part 2? Okay. Now I'd say that really depends on what content you're kind of talking about here. Okay. Now if we go to bossing, what I would say is for bossing, obviously, you are kind of looking at the standard affair of you want your DPSs to be as strong as possible. With your support unit, you can tend to get away with them not being as high, okay? So in this scenario, we would be looking at Raphael and we would be looking at Donatello. So for Raphael, I would say that because of how he functions, you basically want him getting as many Furious Scars off as possible, okay? To do that, you want him to stay alive, okay? So the higher you push him, the higher his probability of staying alive is. So you kind of want to get as many copies of this guy as you can if you are planning to run him, okay? Now, we'll circle back to Raphael in a minute. With regards to Donatello, however, he is a bit of a funny one. For bossing, you can easily get away with this guy at double S rank. As long as you've unlocked the ability to get him to fighting spirit level 30, you have got probably the best of this guy, okay? Now, you have one slight problem, and that problem is you cannot hide him in tag. Okay, which you would often do for units who you've not necessarily got up to maybe triple S rank, okay? He has to be on the field for this to take effect. So while he will function and he will do quite well for you at double S rank, clearly you're going to get far more mileage if you can get this guy up to triple S. Hopefully get yourself some soul power and stuff like that. For the same reasons as Raphael, he's going to stay alive longer, okay? Because the thing about this is you want this to trigger at the optimal time, okay? Now, if he is quite weak, he will trigger this himself. That, in essence, makes it not ideal to have him at a lower rank, but you can do it and he will function for you for bossing, okay? For PvP, on the other hand, I would really say that if you want to even consider running these units, you really want to have them at SSS, okay? PvP is a little bit of a tricky situation because while Donatello is totally a unit who can slot into teams, okay? The way that he works is, okay, he's going to give more to turtles. However, he is still going to prevent death and give you that damage immunity, okay? Now, just to be clear, guys, a lot of people misunderstand this. He gives you damage immunity. He does not counter Vega, okay? Vega can still chew through because Vega, his damage ignores damage immunity effects, okay? So people out there who think that this is a hard counter to Vega, it's not. Vega will just shoot right through them, okay? But that doesn't mean they're not a good team. But what I would say is he will give that effect to any unit, not just Turtles. Obviously, if you've got Turtles, you can run him still on that team. It'll do a lot more. But without Turtles, he will still slot into a team and give them that extra bit of life, hopefully, to continue onwards. Raphael, on the other hand, is a bit of a different kettle of fish, in my opinion. So if we look at him, and we go and look at his main deal here, which is obviously his passive. With his passive, he's given this Furious Scar. What I would say is he can give you up to 15% damage reduction and 15% damage bonus. If he's with a turtle, or a team of turtles, that's 30%, okay? So you can clearly see you want to run him on a team of turtles. I just don't know if I would prioritise him if you don't have the other turtles, because he functions quite similarly to this guy. But I need to look at his skills again. 15% more damage, where is it? Satsune Rike. Fighter takes 10% less soul damage and 5% less damage for all other types of damage. Their pressure is also increased by 10%. I just think that if you had a choice, you would probably, on a non-Turtles team, you'd probably run this guy before you would run Raphael. On a Turtles team, you would totally hands down run Raphael. So if you didn't really go for Michelangelo and Leonardo in part 1, I don't necessarily think that you need to worry too much about focusing on Raphael, because really it's the Turtles team that is going to get the huge benefits from having Raphael, whereas non-Turtles team can certainly get a good benefit from Donatello. So if you had boxes, for talking's sake, and you were getting close to the end, and you sat on your boxes and you had to decide, who do I put these into, Donatello or Raphael? Ask yourself this: do you have Leonardo? If the answer is yes, then I would maybe put them into Raphael. If you don't have Leonardo, then I would probably put them into Donatello. But let's just say you got lucky, you got yourself a copy of all the Turtles. What kind of rotations do you want to run? Okay, so you've got all the Turtles. What do you want to run? Well, on this boss, I found what I was doing more often than not. I'll just do it because it's pretty straightforward. The rotation that I was running was, I had the 3 characters at the front on main, so they're on the actual lineup, which means Donatello's Fighting Spirit 30 is in effect. We've got Michelangelo at the back. I've actually now come to feel that I'll talk about it in another video. But let's go ahead and I'll show you the rotation that I've been running, okay? So generally, but not all the time, this is the rotation that I've been running, okay? I've been going Leonardo into Donatello, into Michelangelo, into Leonardo. But I don't know whether or not there's a benefit to doing this or not. My scores can sometimes seem better every other combo, so I do 2 with the healing, and then I've been doing 1 with Michelangelo doing the C1. Now again, I don't know if I'm actually finding a much bigger benefit from doing that, but I'll just explain to you why I'm doing that. The reason that I'm doing it is because you're getting crit damage buff using Donatello for the C1, okay? And then every so often when you do the C2, you're getting crit rate buff. So the way I was seeing it was, well, if I time this right, it means that I'll be getting the crit rate buff while the crit damage buff is in effect, meaning that we're more likely to land more hits. More hits means more damage means higher score, right? So I was basically alternating like that, right? I was kind of doing 2 Donatello normal, C1, 1, Donatello, C2, Michelangelo, C1, okay? But the way I was actually doing it was slightly different from what I just showed you there. I'll show you like what I was doing to get my score. So I was waiting for him to take his turn. The first combo I was doing was Michelangelo. So that means I'm now buffed for crit rate, okay? And I don't know if I can get through both these combos in 12 seconds, but I think it's 12 seconds you get a buff to the crit rate. So then this time I would be doing that. C2 off of Donatello. We get stunned there, that's fine, but we still get that. I don't know if we get the C2 in there because of that stun. So I'll do the C2 again. So C1 Michelangelo, C2 Donatello, and then bang. And then from now on it was using that into that, into that, into that, trying to do 2 rotations of that. Again, do that, into that, into that, and then because I'm on that now alternate rotation, I would do that into him, into the Donatello C2, hitting with that. So that's kind of how I was doing it, and I actually think it worked out quite well. On this video now, I'm going to experiment with one more thing, and I've been meaning to try this. I'm going to show you what my score currently is just now with that team, and I have had higher, but spreading out my EXs kind of worked a little bit better. So on that team just now it's 2878, right? And if we go and look at skill stats, you can see that on that run we did the C2 twice, okay? So Michelangelo done the C1 twice, Donatello done the C2 twice, okay? What I want to see this time, just to see if it makes any difference, so 2.8 billion I think was the score there. We're going to do it slightly different this time just to see if there is more benefit for doing it a bit more often, right? So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm just going to alternate that rotation each turn, and we'll see if it makes a difference. So we're going to go Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, then we'll go Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Leonardo. So then it'll be Michelangelo's turn again, Donatello, Leonardo. Then we'll rotate that again this time. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to always ensure that I've got crit rate damage in effect, and I've also got crit rate buff in effect, meaning that every other combo, or every combo, one or the other, will be landing more crits, and the crits will be boosted. So if we just keep doing this, I might have forgotten one there. I'm not sure if I'm on the right rotation just now. I'm not. But then we get stunned, right? So it's hard when you get stunned, right? So I'm not 100% sure, but I think potentially, see that was 2.4, so it could have been, you know. But either or, I think like both work as a rotation. Basically you're just leaving Raphael to do his own thing, right? Basically leave Raphael to do his own thing. Now if I really want to bring up the numbers here, what I can do is I can take off Cammy, and we can put Cammy up here, and I think now we'll probably see more points. So we'll do this again, but we'll use Cammy as the support. I do think this will probably make a bit of a difference. I'm going to do that alternate rotation again, just rotating between C1 Michelangelo, C1 Donatello. So we'll start off Mikey. So that's us got a crit rate buff. This will give us a crit rate damage buff. Then we'll go back to doing a crit rate buff. And then as long as we don't get stunned here, this might actually work out better, but we'll just need to see. So that's a crit rate damage buff. So for this next combo we want to do the crit rate buff again. Crit rate buff. And then we're back to the crit rate damage buff. If we can avoid getting stunned here, that would be nice, because then we'll be able to get a good lay of the land. So I believe that was a crit rate damage buff, so now it's time for a crit rate buff. Okay, and now it's time for another crit rate damage buff. Might squeeze in just a little bit. This is a crit rate buff. And that'll finish it off. And that just might have pipped the score, but then we did have cameoing. So you can see that obviously did push the numbers up quite a bit. Again, a bit more luck, you know, a bit of a different. If Raphael gets his stacks faster and stuff like that, that score could have been obviously a bit higher. But if we look here, I can see that on that first time when I did my score, if we go back to you, Turtles. I was running Evil Ryu and I was running, what's her face, Bad Jury. So, I mean, any combination of those two things work, basically. I wouldn't bother doing Raphael's. Just don't touch Raphael, just leave Raphael on there to be the automated guy who's just essentially there to be a turtle. You know, I don't really know how else to describe it. But let's just say you've not got all of them. Let's say, for example, you've not got Michelangelo. What can you do without Michelangelo? Well, who would we use? Right, obviously, we know we're going to get crit rate damage buffing if we use Donatello's C1, but let's say we don't want to use Donatello's C1. Let's say we want to more consistently land crits. So, like I was trying to do there with the alternating, let's say we moved away from alternating and we didn't do that, right? So, let's say we didn't have Michelangelo, right? So, we'll just take Michelangelo off altogether, and what we'll do is we'll put on Poison. So, we've dropped Michelangelo in favour of Poison. This rotation's now going to be Leonardo into Street Poison, into Donatello, into Leonardo. That should mean, in theory, we're getting crit rate damage buff from our C1 and we're getting crit rate buff from our C2. So we should see, I want to say, quite a spike in points here. Maybe into the 4 billion mark. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in just a second. But this is kind of what you can do if you're not going to be running all the turtles. Is it going to work? I don't know, because I've not tried it. I'm about to try it right now and we'll find out. So let's just see how this works. So I'm giving up healing, okay? I'm not doing any healing at all from Donnie. Donnie's literally just going to be buffing our crit rate damage. Our crit rate, sorry. We're getting all our other buffs coming from Poison. I would expect, as long as nobody dies, that we would do better with regards to score here, but again, it's untested, so I don't know. See, that was an unfortunate stun. I probably should have just used Leonardo's C2 there. Buff you up, put you up. So we should be consistently landing big crits. Now I'm not seeing the numbers that are coming up on the screen, so I don't actually know. Right. Donatello's died, which is unfortunate. But I can kind of already see that, obviously if Donnie didn't die there, that might have turned out a little bit better. But we'll do it one more time just for hoping I don't die. My timing maybe a bit different, don't know what would cause it. So right, so we've got plenty of stacks here. We'll pop you to start it off. Probably, I mean, maybe just for safety, I should pop Donnie for the C2 once, maybe twice, just to make sure everybody's still alive and ticking with regards to their HP. I'll just give one Donnie C1 just now, just for healing purposes. But then I'll go back to just doing Poison. Don't want to do the alternating. Okay. Another one coming up here. So this is going to probably be a big hit. Donnie's not dead yet, that's good. I'll just do... No, we'll keep going, I'm not even going to see if we need a heal, we'll just keep going. See if we can get a higher score, or if it is going to be better just using the turtles and the combination. Like I said, that was unfortunate. That was a really unfortunate stun. That could have made a big difference. I don't know. Right, but you can see there that, do you know what I mean? I don't know how much Michelangelo was bringing to the squad. He was probably bringing a little bit. You have got some scope, but I feel like the turtles are a team you don't really want to mess with, right? You probably don't want to mess with. There is a good team that you could use for PvP. I'll show you it just now. So if you're looking at more PvP comps, what you would maybe want to use for PvP, you could try this, which is actually quite an interesting composition to use. But you go with this combo here. Where did he go? Leonardo. Bring him back up here. Nope. Bring him back up here. Who am I missing? I'm missing Donatello. That would make sense. Bring Donatello back up to here. So we want Donatello and Raphael. We want you there. Now again, you need to have the units for this, right? You want to put this guy here, and then put this here. This team goes hard. This team goes hard. That would be the combo you'd want to run. This team goes absolutely, trust me, it goes hard, right? I think you'll probably start to see this team popping up in different showdowns and stuff like that. Keep an eye out for it. I think this is one to watch. Very solid team, but you do need to have some pretty damn premium units to run it, right? I mean, you're looking at this guy who is, honestly guys, chef's kiss. You want him. Really good unit. Her, awesome buffer. Then you've got this guy here. Not only is he providing you with that potential to live longer, right? You're getting that from Ryu as well. Because he's got assist by Raph in the assist slot, you are getting a guaranteed tech shield. It's a very solid comp. This is probably what I would look at running in PvP if you've got the units and if you've got lucky. But all in, I would say if you don't have the turtles from part 1, just focus on Donatello. Ultimately, I would say just focus on Donatello if you don't have the units from part 1. If you do have the units from part 1 and you've got this guy to quite a decent level, then you probably want to get this guy leveled up, because he is given a lot of bonuses to help you do a lot more damage. The reason I wouldn't run this guy in PvP is because he's a ramp up character. You don't get time to ramp up. Simple as that. That's why I wouldn't recommend them for a PvP comp. It's been a bit long-winded, but hey, you know what? Sometimes that's what these videos are. I've been Hayzink. Thanks for watching. Catch you all on the next video. Peace.